Okay. All right. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening to you all. Welcome to yet another episode of the Talk Track. We are Plot 8B, Gabala Road, the Barrow House, an official home of the Car Junkies. I would like to say you are pointing out something. Yeah. Plot 8B, Gabala Road. Yeah. Apparently, we are taking shots now. But in the meantime, as the shots come through, welcome back, everyone. We had taken we took 1 week off, and everyone. By the way, people were asking me, "What's happening? Is everyone okay? Why is why is the talk track there this Sunday?" I just told them people on vacation. They will come. They need to rest their mind. But you see, that goes to show that you guys are doing a big thing. In the sense that if you missed a Sunday and everyone is so concerned that there is no talk track, to the extent that people start asking if people's health is okay, hey, you guys are doing a big thing. So shout out to you guys, shout out to us for the for the good job that we're doing. As you can see, our viewers, ladies and gentlemen, the team has come back with a lot of energy. People need to go on more vacations, I think. The Talk Track is an independent production of the Car Junkies. It's produced, edited, sound mixed, and shot by Moro, who is also known as Morris. I bet he got a few nicknames when he was out in Kenya there. I don't know what they call him. Rastafari. He's the only Rastaman with a do-rag, in case. He's called Muzuri Sana. Vidole vya kapa. No, but whoever knows the translation of that, you can please put it in the comments. I want to know if it's really bad or really good. And as per usual, your host, my name is Roy. You can call me Kamada. I got a new name today, Mutiava, Nofachi Neviensi, Achawa Giramani, all those things. Yeah. Life is hard out here for a Manu fan. We don't own any of the music, any of the rights to the music you're going to be hearing playing in the background. And the opinions presented on the talk track are not representative of any of the entities affiliated with the talk track, that is the Bar House or the Kara Junkies. These are opinions presented by individuals through their lived experiences and perspectives. However, if you do feel the need to join in the conversation, please feel free to check out our socials at Talk Track UG on YouTube, as well as Bar House Radio on Mixcloud. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow where you can, leave a comment. Yeah, your feedback is really important to us. All right. Since we've been away, a couple of things have happened. That is not a show. Olivia. Nachoga. People are drinking shots. What are you doing with the water? Since we've been away, a lot of things have happened, I think, since we've been away. The ballot paper is fixed now. 8 nominees. The usual. Yeah, there are 8 nominees. Savoy is there. Bobby is there. 8. Yeah, there are 8. Muntu is there. Munyagwa Mubarak is there. Who else? There are a couple of other people there, but there are only 8 gentlemen this time. There are no ladies, as it was in 2021. No ladies this time. So 8 presidential nominees, and campaigns kick off tomorrow. So guys, please, tear gas, buy water, buy handkerchiefs. Yeah, tear gas starts off tomorrow. I think they spent the whole of today or maybe yesterday with political party officials as well as the Electoral Commission were in sit-downs either yesterday or today, figuring out how to harmonize the campaign routes, because you can't have more than one candidate in one district at a time. And so the campaign trail is starting tomorrow. So ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Yeah, we're going into the thick of things. Yeah, so we're getting there, but we know what the result is going to be. Let's just go through the formalities. Feb next year, we know. iPhone users. There are some who are still on iPhone X. Someone is on a 12 and 13. 17 was released. 17 was released, the best iPhone 17. You have your 17 Pro, you have your 17 Pro Max, and then they released a limited edition iPhone Air. Very thin. 17 Air. I think it's the thinnest design they have ever done. It's very slim like that, but of course comes with its own issues because battery life and all that. So for those who are planning on buying the 17 Air, please be prepared to also purchase an Apple sanctioned power bank. Of course, sold separately, you know. You know Apple things. Wow. Uncle Mo said, if the screen didn't come attached to the phone, you would be buying separate compartments of the iPhone and then just set it up yourself. Tim Cook, please. Until now, they can't sell the charger separately because, like we were discussing before the talk track today, yeah, the charger is no longer special. You buy a 65 watt Type C, you're good. So yeah, the iPhone 17 is out. Of course, costs an arm and a leg. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are saying there is no really big difference between the 16 and the 17, except for maybe a little bit of aspects of functionality. They're talking about upgrades in the software. They're adding colors. They've changed the structural composition because Apple has gone back to the original aluminum that they were using before. I think for a couple of versions and models there, they went to the titanium alloys, but they've gone back to aluminum as the best design metal that they've been using. There is a self-cooling mechanism. Apparently now your phone does not heat up when you're using it. Yeah, self-cooling. So for those of you that are not using iPhones, please, you continue holding your phones in cold towels as they charge so it can cool down. Yeah, but for for iPhone users who are going to get the 17, the 17 Pro, Pro Max, and I think also the 17 Air self-cooling mechanism, obviously that's the biggest selling point is the camera. Yeah, we've made the camera better. I don't know how much more work we're going to do to the camera, but it's okay. It's fine. Let's go. Because I think for the longest time, until the advent of the Google Pixel, for the longest time, I think the iPhones have had the best cameras. Until Google Pixel came. Google Pixel gave them a little bit of competition, and maybe with the Galaxies, the Samsung Galaxies a little bit the latest, I think S22, 23 also have very good cameras, but longevity is what works. We've always known the iPhone as the phone with the camera. So, even when the competition comes in, people still fall back on the iPhone because of the camera. So I don't think any more upgrades to the camera are required. We know people are shooting movies on iPhones. The whole conference at which the iPhone 17 was announced was shot on an iPhone and then edited using a MacBook or an iMac. I'm not quite sure which they used. So you already have a good camera. So I don't know. Sell us on a different thing. I don't know. It is affordable. Start from there.
That I think what we're dealing with the iPhone situation here is there is creating the need for a product. The need. I have to have that because then I will be seen or looked at a certain way. That is how they started off anyway. I think. But now we're at a point where everyone is saying, well, the technology is out there. We can even do better. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what iPhone now is doing, because there is one thing to be the leading, person in the game. And then before that, you realize you're following a few steps. If you look at the 17,
the 17 Air
and the Pixel,
it looks like a Pixel. I'm like, oh God, what happened?
And the camera, the Pixel camera, just saying.
Right.
But and I'm not saying they're not doing their best. These are tough times, very competitive times.
Yeah.
In the world, we would call luxury. Back then, the times when certain things could have been a luxury. Today, because of access and access to this kind of, it's now part of us. It's not something like, oh my God, did you see that?
Yeah.
At some point, we're all talking about Blackberries. Oh my goodness, if you got a Blackberry.
No, but you remember even back in the day when the smartphone in and of itself was a luxury. Like if someone saw you pulling out the phone and it didn't have buttons, they were like, Guy has,
Yeah. So I think everything has its, sort of.
Yeah, now your grandmother and your brother guy all have the same phone.
So we're having a situation where now the market is split into, because everyone here who would have used the iPhone, you find between all of us here, I'm just giving as an example, someone will say, let me try the Pixel,
Yeah.
And then your experience of the Pixel is not as complicated probably. The beginning is, the iPhone came with complicated features so that you are alone. you know?
Yeah, Apple Music.
You
Get your music
get
from Apple.
But people are realizing if I'm going to get a Pixel, I'm going to access all of these things probably for free.
For free,
Some of
yeah.
these apps, something. I'm getting the same service, probably better. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about it, shush.
And there's
You
a
know?
lot more. There's a lot more shareability, especially with. And I'm not. This is not me
Yes.
trashing
No, we are-
the
yeah, we
Apple
are
products or
definitely not.
anything, but there is a lot more shareability with products outside of Apple, because you do realize the shareability of a lot of things with Apple devices is very compatible with Apple to Apple devices. So, Apple to iMac, Apple to your MacBook, Apple to other Apple phones. But shareability between, let's say, an Apple product and a product that runs on, let's say, Windows, like a Windows PC, or an Apple product and an Android phone, I think with over time, those have been worked on. It's still a bit iffy, but they have been worked on. But initially, shareability was a big problem.
Yeah.
And now it's being worked on. But when you have that issue of shareability, why wouldn't someone, for purposes of convenience, say, you know what? Let me get my Samsung, because I know with my Samsung, I'm going to be able to link and share with a lot more devices and a lot more people than I would with my iPhone. It does put you in a very niche community, in the sense that you are an Apple product user. It makes you stand out. There is also very, very good features on Apple products that you can't get anywhere else. Like, for example, the iMac. When I was still doing photography and videography, the ability to handle heavy editing software, but also the color that you would get when you're working on an iMac is very different from what you'd get. Let's say you're working on an Acer or a Dell. So a lot of editors will use the iMac and the MacBook for that kind of work. But outside of that, it got to a point where you could not upgrade your PC beyond the hardware. Like, you could not add software to that hardware because there was a cap. And some small things like that, while they're very good products, will put you off. But congratulations to Apple. They have 17 versions of the same phone. You know how difficult that is.
Very.
And they have kept a market, and they keep putting out quality products, which is okay. But like you mentioned, and justly so, competition is now so high. Yeah, competition is so high. Someone is going to go, why would I spend 6.9 million on a phone when I could buy something almost similar at 3.3 and get almost the same features? So outside of now it being part of a niche community, and I don't think there is anything that attracts us so much to Apple products like it used to be. But we shall keep buying them, because why? Capitalism.
Yeah.
Our consumer tendencies have never changed. They know that we have a bias. I was thinking about goats today. Before we get into the topic, I was thinking about goats. Why? How many of us have read... Okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with The Twelfth Night, Shakespeare. Yeah, there is a very famous quote from that play, The Twelfth Night, where he says, some people are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. And it was basically talking about, your ability to make it in life. Some people are born gifted, others have to work hard, and some others achieve it by luck and what. And guys, I don't know why I thought about that quote and thought about goats, because in recent times you do realize that the animal that has been most associated with greatness is the goat. Like in maybe the past 2, 3, 4 years, did you ever, as children, when you look at a goat, and did you ever think in your mind, be like, one day that's going to be associated with greatness? Because no, come to think about it, even in a place, even Olimbuzi, it was the insult of the century. Yeah, they called you a goat. That was insult to your intelligence. And now everyone is struggling to be called the goat. Even where the goat is not the goat, it's still the goat. Because look at this. Let me give you an example. I was talking to a few people recently, actually during the week, and it was just I did a very stupid poll. I said, rank these pilau dishes in order of preference. I gave them chicken pilau, beef pilau, and goat pilau. And they did their poll and everything, and statistics come out, and it goes chicken pilau, because everyone loves chicken. I didn't know that. Chicken pilau, then beef pilau, then goat pilau came in last. But you know what's funny? Is even with goat pilau coming in as the least preferred form of pilau for that particular group, I don't know, people kept saying, but the goat of pilau. People kept saying the goat of pilau is chicken. And I'm like even when you're not winning, you're winning. Because back then, You leave them alone. Leave them alone. I don't know. For them, they are chicken eaters. But the goat of pilau, because even even when it's not being used in reference to the animal in and of itself, a goat has become a symbol of greatness. We used to look at eagles and look at lions and you look at sharks, and I'm sure in the animal kingdom when they were having discussions, the goat would be in the back there. Now it's on the table of elders and it can sit there and go, you're making big decisions. The goat can just be there in the back drinking alcohol, because at the end of the day it's going to be like, regardless, I am still the goat. So in reference, regardless of what you're referring to, it just hit me that anything is possible. And I think it goes to show that it just needs a little bit of time, and anything can change how people perceive or view you. It doesn't take a lot, but over time, it is possible to create a version of yourself or a version of something that people have been, whether they had been so used to it, it is possible for you to create a version that they then adapt to. We never looked at the goat like that for a very long time. But now, when you're looking at Lionel Messi, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, that is my sentimental goat in tennis. But yeah, Dembele now. You see? So you're associating this animal with people that have done big things. And it just goes to show that anything is possible in terms of a change of perspective. Another person that did that for me really is Matthew McConaughey. For those of you that know Matthew McConaughey, very famous back in the years as a rom-com actor. And how to lose a guy in 10 days, Ghost of Girlfriends Past, and he had created a name for himself as a rom-com actor. And then all of a sudden just decided, you know what? I've stopped that. I'm going to rebrand. And it took a while. Hollywood, I think, had almost given up on him because he says he didn't get any work for 2 years. And then immediately after that, when people noticed, oh, he's actually serious, and they started giving him his dramatic roles. And now it's like you have two eras of Matthew McConaughey. You have Matthew McConaughey up until 2008-9, and then you have Matthew McConaughey after that. But people have grown to appreciate him as a dramatic actor. And yet so much before that, he was only looked at as a guy of the rom-com. So I think it is people have often said people don't change. I think it's possible. I think depending on the circumstances, and if you give yourself the opportunity and allow yourself to, learn from the things around you, I think it's possible to make change. But I think that comes down to a basic understanding of who you are as a person and what your identity is, which brings us to our topic for the day. Did you see that, guys? I'm sharp.
Right, just a moment.
Uh-huh.
I think the goat is not the goat, the animal that you're talking about.
But me, I like it that way. Because honestly, I get, like, in terms of greatest of all time,
Yeah,
but
so
still,
don't confuse us with the
it is still Mbuzi. It is
You don't
G-O.
want to be called a god.
You will be called the goat.
Actually,
No. But
great animal.
here's the thing. You do realize the article they use when referring to whether it is the animal or being the greatest of all time is quite different. Because when they're referring to you as the greatest of all time, you are the goat. Someone just wants to insult you, you are a goat.
Yeah.
So back to identity and identity crisis. What inspired my choice of topic for today was a sermon, if you can believe it. I was listening to a sermon. But no, we're not going to go religious. Don't look at me like that. Rowena is like, no, we're not going religious. But it was just inspired by a sermon, because two things happened. One, the sermon was really good and very informative, but it shocked me with the approach that it took, because I thought, they were going to go heavily into religion, but it's actually about self-growth and self-realization. And so I want us to discuss a little bit about, whether or not, one, as a community right now, there is a lot of issues around identity crisis. But before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of the Barrow House, there is a few things right in front of you there, although mine is not in front of me.
It should be.
Hey, so back then in the day, what we used to do is we had a tradition of every time before we started the discussion, we'd drink to the Barrow House. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed with that discussion, a welcome back. So, what are we toasting to? So, a simple welcome back. And here's to what? We're talking about more success and more intelligence?
Yep.
Yeah? And more fun.
And more fun.
Yeah, we don't just chin out of. Cheers, guys. Now I can't hide from my parents. They think I don't drink, but they watch these things. I'm sorry, mother. It is okay.
Mother, just water.
It is just water. Mother water. Nachog. Mother water. Yeah, we just did mother water. Anyway, so as we proceed, identity.
Yeah.
Let's just get into it. Are we as a community, as a people, as a society right now, do people know who they are? Do we know who we are, or are we going through one of the most debilitating times of identity crisis, especially surrounded with the things that are constantly around us, the barrage of information that we get, the access to a lot of the things that we have access to? Do we have the opportunity to shape our identities as individuals, or are our identities being shaped severely by the things around us? Are we in control of who we are as people, or the aspects of life around us are what are controlling us? So are we going simply? Do we know who we are?
Yes, I want to think so. But here's the thing. These factors are going to come in play together. You don't choose who you are. Okay? Most of the time, who she is, who he is, who I am, you don't wake up and say today. Yeah? Today. That's why I will not do things the way Roy does them. That is why we end up, for example, that's why I wanted to tell you that with coming from a rom-com actor to, being a dramatic, it was the same person. We are so many things in one. That is why you can be funny, but also have principles. Like the way you do your, you manage your principles and how you do things. That is why someone can be very uptight, but also quite very loving, So I think it was still him. It was still him. It's just that sometimes we allow certain parts of us to shine more than the rest of our selves. So I feel like, and maybe the environment, or maybe in the time, that is what he could easily access parts in a rom-com, right? Doesn't mean that it wasn't who he was, or it wasn't part of who he is. So basically, that is why if you've watched the animation Inside Out, every character, or at least the character they gave us this time, she didn't change. She became a teenager. Okay? The same sadness, happiness,
that was Inside Out too, right?
Anger, yeah. So it's literally the same child or the same kid from what we're seeing, but the environment changed. Okay? But she still had the same, that is who she was. It's just that now, how best do you deal with who you are in different places or situations? In high school, no one is going to say, Rowan has changed. I was the same one. But in that setup, or in that setting, that came with its own rules, or the way things were done, or the way the community, is also different. So I love to think that we do know ourselves. We just sort of discover certain things through situations. You discover that, hey, you mean I can handle pressure? I didn't know. Until you're there, you will not know it. Doesn't mean you changed. A certain experience in life, probably a very intense experience, will allow your softer side expose itself more. But you can't wake up and become soft from nowhere. No. It means you're already like that. It's just that, for example, there are people that you see are in a fast-paced moving environment. Fast-paced. The day you allow them to go on vacation, you begin to think that you will say, they didn't change. That's just the side that they sort of, So all of us, I think, as human beings, as we have so many things that make us. But tomorrow, if I am stressed, for example, if I have a job and I have a deadline, and I am stressed, and maybe I have been that very smiley, kind type of person, and with all the pressures, everything is not going right. And then Roy comes, hey, even a simple thing, I will be one of the most probably rude people you'll come across. Doesn't mean I am, that's the intensity of it. Every person has all of these things, but it's just the levels of. So it's not that you changed.
Yeah.
We know ourselves. The only difference is, do we actually know that, as Rowena, I am very responsive. I speak my mind. Like, it's about knowing it.
Yeah.
Versus not having a clue.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's a very good insight. Now, I have a couple of follow-up questions from that, but what we'll get back to that a little bit. But I want us to make an important distinction. Is there a difference between our personalities and our identities? Is there a difference between our personality and our identity? Because I feel like our identities are grounded in certain non-negotiable things. Like you have certain values, certain principles, certain ways of life that you do not compromise, and that's what makes your identity, right? And I feel like your identity then shapes your personality. Your personality is what changes as you move through these different communities and scenarios, right? When you're in high school with the rules there, of course your personality might be a little bit different. If you're a naturally loud person, a rule breaker because you're in high school, then your personality might have to be toned down into someone who follows the rules. When you're in a hectic situation, then the personality of yourself that comes out as a problem solver might come out. So do we think there is a difference between, and that's just my opinion, but is there a difference between our personalities and our identities?
Yes. If I give Paul, I don't think so. See, I've always been like this. I promise you. It's just the intensity or how much I get to interact and all of that with things. For example, I will tell you, I have always spoken up my mind. I do not. In fact, I think as you get older, it's there. I just sort of try to manage it. Okay. But here's the thing. I think who we are, our personality, frames our identity. Again, we can tweak the identity depending on situation, place, time, blah, what, experience. But if you've always been a very, how can I put it? A very maybe vocal. You just don't change and be vocal. That means you need therapy. Something must have happened.
Yeah.
You understand? And even then, it means it's out of the normal for you. You get what I'm saying? Otherwise, identity does not create your personality. Otherwise, how am I Rowena before I am Rowena? Who I am, how I do things, how I respond to things, how I speak, how I laugh, how I talk, the friends I choose, the conversations, the things I'm interested in make me or identify me as Rowena. Tomorrow, if I woke up, I swear to the heavens, and I am listening to those pakas, paka song, paka. There would be that is just not who I am. So my personality
Therapy
creates an identity that you will know, this is. And usually we might tweak, but that's why I will still know this is Roy, Roy, what? Paul is like this. Olivia is like this.
Nachoga, she's Nachoga.
Yes. Yeah. Mommy water. That this is who she is. So therefore, who she is now the end that we are seeing, the identity. We identify her as Nachoga Mama Water because of what she does and how she does. Her personality. That when I'm those ends, I'll hear Mama Water laughing from the other side.
Bas, that one has stuck. Olivia, we are sorry. It has stuck.
So when we tweak and adjust, it's to sort of work on our personalities to suit what accepted identity would be for society. But I think who you are, your personality, the way you do your things creates the identity. It's not the other way around.
Okay.
Yes, it
How-
cannot be.
Yeah, how do we get to that point then? How do we get to a point where yeah, but as I phrase this question so everyone can be prepared for the next one. What are some of the factors that are going to influence how or what we perceive as human beings as either our personalities or identities? Because it looks to me like what we are saying is it's not fixed, right? It's fluid. It can change depending on where you are, depending on who you are, depending on who you interact with, right? So, but before you even get to the point, you can't change something that does not exist, right? You can't tweak something that does not exist. So, as Paul read his rebuttal, let's also think about what are some of the things that then give us that foundational either personality or identity that we can then start to tweak, right? But Paul, you had something to say.
Oh, hi, I'm Paul. So for me, what I'm going to say, I'm going to differ a bit from Rowena. You see, your personality and your identity are fluid, so they interact. But your identity is you. You understand? That is you. Now, your personality is what you can be able to adjust. You understand? So, personality, for me, I'll identify, I am Paul. Okay, there are people who identify as women, but me, I'm a man. You understand that? So, but your identity is you. You understand? That is innate. It is something that you are born with. So, what we keep on changing is our personality. How do I deal with this person? How do I deal with this other person? You understand? So, what we have to tweak is usually the personality. And personality, for me, I'll know I can interact with you differently. I'll interact with this one differently. And then for you, when you're in the vicinity, you'll be like, okay, oh, he did this with this person. So that is what we are changing. It's our personality. But our identity does not change. You understand that? So our identity is us. You get? But personality is how do you relate with the people who are with you or who are within your circles or who are within your vicinity. Yes, I'll go and talk to a border guy and be very friendly. You understand? Then a taxi guy comes and I'll cuss him out. You understand that? Because it is me looking at the person the way they are bringing. But my identity doesn't change. I'm still Paul Wandera. Remember, personality and identity doesn't change your character or who you are innately. Yes, if I'm a very straightforward person, that is always going to be there. But that comes from your identity. You get? You're born with that. You know, me, I want things to be done this way and that way. You understand? But how do I... Yes, I already know things have to be done this way and that way. But I'm relating with another person. How do I connect? So it is my personality that changes. You understand?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, Zara?
Well, I think in the new normal, anything is possible. You can change your identity, you can change your personality. Like the way, yeah, like now, yeah, so anytime we can
You
find
can
it, like,
you can
Paul
identify
is now
as a goat.
Sarah, you understand? So I think it's all about time. It's all about time.
Yeah.
The times that we are in, I think we could. Yeah, that's what I want.
So, but okay, I like that. But again, back to my earlier assertion, it gets difficult to tweak. It gets difficult to change what does not exist, right? So, how do we know who we are? What are the things that shape that perception within ourselves? Because you see, no one is going to form your identity for you, right? You form your own identity, and what happens is when we exist in societies where, identity, there is a lack of structure in the formulation of identity, you're going to have a lot of lost souls. You're going to have people operating on autopilot, people identifying themselves or gaining their value from things like their relationships or things from their jobs, in that when you remove those aspects of themselves, they don't know who they are. And I think in our society right now, we have a lot of that going on because we've never taken the opportunity to actually sit down and go, okay, this is me, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I believe in, this is what I don't believe in, this is what I'll stand for, this is what I won't stand for, right? Because someone is often out there telling you what to believe in, what to stand for, who to listen to, and stuff like that. So your identity then tends to move depending on who you're listening to, depending on who has the power, who has the flow at the moment. So what are some of those things that affect or lead us to form the identities that we have, and how do we get to that point of knowing who you are as a person or as a people?
Ronnie Jr. Ronnie. Okay, before I answer that, guys, Ronnie.
Ronnie. Ronnie, ooh.
So, Ronnie, we need your help, please.
All right,
need your help.
As Ronnie comes.
Yes. Here's the thing, and I think that's why we often get lost. Half the time we are seeking for approval from other people. Yeah. We are thinking, what will people say? We're always out here to impress. I understand it. We're moving billboards of ourselves, but also, if I don't know what I'm marketing of myself, that means you're going to tell me I am supposed to market this. Then I lose the mulamwa. Thank you. So I think because of society's set, and we always come back to this in all our conversations, society sets certain normal standards to suit, whoever in that moment is, in the space of making decisions, making choices to create a situation of you have to be blah, blah, blah. And some of the things, for example, we've just talked about the iPhone 17 and all that, you see. You may not even be, by the way, some people, it's for calling and receiving. An SMS. But because, exactly.
I message,
but because,
I message.
But because, you have to adjust yourself. But you're not using it to its fullest. And there's another person who's actually using it to its fullest. So we are there. I think why half the time we sort of tweak ourselves to suit. Exactly, like Paulo, see? At the end of the day, we have so many standards to fit in, to be like, to be. Half the time, by the way, let me tell you, as human beings, we need to go back and check ourselves. We are very, how can I put it? We are two-sided beings. We are the same people telling everyone, be yourself. You be yourself, you'll see. We are the same ones who are going to say, hey, Royate is too much. You get? So, I mean, why are people tweaking? Because we are not allowing people to be themselves. They are whether personality or identity. Whatever you're choosing to tweak in the moment. You get? People usually towards the end of their life will begin to think and say, I wish I did this, I wish I didn't listen to that. I wish. If wishes were horses, So at the end of the day, because of all of this pressure from the world, yeah, I have to look and sound and appear and then. We are the same people, trust me, who will say, they are overdoing it. Next weekend, let them relax, let them. But we are saying to be serious, you should appear a certain way. Then when you appear that way, like, this guy need to loosen up. So I think because of the various and how do I put it? The lack of, you can't predict what we are going to demand for next. 1 minute we are telling you do this, you do it, we are saying no. Do it like this. So the tweaking is coming from all of these things and remember, you can't avoid them. To exist in society, you must be able to. Yes. So
for me, I'm going to only say one thing. Just one thing.
Now,
see,
producer, don't fall.
Okay, for me, you see, I came from Victoria Nile.
Hallelujah.
Then I went to Budo. Now, in Budo, I met the who's and the who's. You understand? So, you see, that is where the society aspects come in. You understand? Your environment is the one that makes you tweak to a certain, but what you're tweaking is your personality. Your identity is still you. You understand? When you come back to Ginger, don't I come and party with you guys? Because I know my people. You see that? But because I'm in an environment where they expect something, okay, this one has come from, okay, local school in Ginger there. That is what they said. Then, but you see, because of the people who are around you, they will also determine how you tweak things. You understand? So that flexibility and that fluidity is always accepted. But always remember, your identity is you. That is why you see, you go to all, okay, for me, I've traveled very many places, but at the end of the day, I always come back. And when I come back, I'm always with my people the same way we are, because that is my identity. I'll be very honest with them. But the other side, people make up, how do you call them? I'll say fantasies. You imagine yourself in another kind of world. You have to fit into other people's worlds because that is what society is dictating. You understand? So what we usually tweak is not our identity. It is just our personality depending on whatever is around us. The people, even the environment. Let me tell you, you go to Turkey, there is some yogurt which is salted. I used not to take it. But in the end, when I was leaving Turkey, it was like my favorite drink. I came to Uganda, now I can't even take it. Greek yogurt. We are used to sweet yogurt, you know that?
Yeah.
So, but when I was there, I had to be able to fit into the society. So it's not just about you understand. The good thing that I usually tell people is you do not forget who you are. Do not lose yourself in what everybody else is advising you to do.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it is very critical you do not lose your identity. But personality, fluid, you can always change that.
When you talk after him, at least Rowena is a bit G, but this one here has too much vocal. I think I'll not divert so much from him. Let me say this. We all have two sides. We have the inner side, which is us, and we have the outer one, which can be bent. However much we can bend the outside, when you go back to our side, and that one is even beyond just coming back to ginger. When you're in your room alone, it comes back.
Yeah.
Naturally. You don't even need whether you do what or what. It's okay. That one thing about when you say personalities and identities, there's that natural thing in you, which when you're in your space, whenever you are in your space, it's a natural thing. It will always come out. It's like when you find Zahara in her space alone, she will start playing her songs and you're like, yeah, Zahara, you're back. Actually, it's like when you find someone with their playlist on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, there's what they can play for you. That time when they find Roy and he's playing for you some nice gear like, hey man, Roy, hey man, I can see you're playing that piano stuff, what? Then you find Roy playing Iziki in his earphones. Very peaceful, and he's now back. So, in as much as we can adjust, of course, society will do its works and what, but naturally, every person has those two sides.
Yeah.
There's one which is very adjustable. I can be talking with her and I adjust even my tone. My accent will even change. Just ask how it changes. I can relate when he says Budo, reached Budo. It's on Nagalabi Hill, a coronation hill. But speaking of local language, I mean Luganda is a crime there. Don't ask us how it became a crime. So you grow up into society and everything is demanding.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, the outside is very adjustable, but the inside always comes back naturally.
Yeah.
So, of course, the identity part cannot change. Some things, in as much as you first bend them, the natural part sometimes even overrides the outside. So
Yeah.
sometimes can even be in the outside, then the natural part comes back. Then you have to tell guys, by the way, that's not me. That was not me.
I'm a hard guy.
I'm a hard guy. But they're seeing you crying. But you're like, man, I'm a hard guy. I can't watch a movie and I cry. So, but I think that's how we are trying so much to bend to all the things outside. Because as Rowena said, man, life is not about us. Okay, as we're growing up, things were very G. Life wasn't so much of squeezing you. The expectations were few. Yeah, it wasn't squeezing, man. You could probably, yeah, you could you could probably move around, have normal friends. There was not so much baggage.
Yeah.
Right now, everything is calling. Everything is calling. Yeah. So, in conclusion, just
You see, we shouldn't take this in a negative way.
Uh-huh.
You understand? There are also benefits to it. You understand? When you fit into a society, when you tweak yourself, yes, it may be uncomfortable, but it may get you a job. You understand that kind
Yeah.
of thing? It may be uncomfortable, it may give you an opportunity. So, yes, personality changes depending on where you are, but also it depends on who you're interacting with, and it is very important. Some of these people, you see, we may interact in a negative way and in a positive way.
Yeah.
And the positive way is actually way too awesome. You get? So we shouldn't look at it like changing our identity and personality is bad or good. It has its pros and it also has its
Has
cons.
its cons, yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Okay, so back as Zahara. Yeah, Zahara.
Okay, just last one.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why I feel like even identity changes, it's just a matter of time. You know, like of course my hearts and thoughts to the people in the war zone and all that. But now if I Zahara, I fear even a gun, let me say. But if I found myself in a situation like I'm in a war zone area, that means maybe 5 years from now I'll be completely a different person, that even if I came back, I will not be the same. So I think it's just a matter of time, and then what exactly is shaping you to be who you are. And that's why that even in a family, supposing there are two siblings in a family and then you're part twins, if I go to this family and this one stays, we shall be totally two different people. Whereby if we're in the same home, brought up the same way, we would identify ourselves with the similar traits and characters. So I think also identity changes.
All right. As we get into that,
so-
we have about 7, maybe 8 minutes. So as you guys debate that last point, let's take a little, not as much time on that, but as you debate that last point, the last 7 minutes, I just want us to discuss how do we know who we are? Like, how do you as an individual know who you are? What are those things that shape outside of just your name, outside
Okay.
of just saying I am Roy?
That's actually perfect, because
But
I was
how,
looking.
how do we know who we are?
Yes.
Because that's identity,
That's
right?
actually perfect, because I was looking, just to be clear here on what I was responding to. I was looking at what personality is described as, or what you would term as, like how they ask us what is personality, and I'm looking at the combination of characteristics and qualities that form an individual's distinct character. That is why I insisted last time that personality is actually what makes your identity or who you are. You get? And like he said, they are fluid. So if we are looking at values and characteristics that form Roy, and that's why I'm like, perfect timing on your question, because that is how you will know who you are. Your characteristics and your values as an individual. That is why you're you. That is why I am me. Therefore, my identity. That's where I was coming from. Yes? So if Rowena is loud, Rowena is very direct, Rowena is a person who does not just let something slide. Rowena is someone who wants to go and have a good time. Rowena. In my understanding of who I am, my characteristics is what we're going to describe. For my characteristics, what I'm going to describe. My values come in. I do not appreciate people who this, people who miss their words, people. I don't like people who this. I like people who that. I like environments like this. I love roses. No, I do not love roses. A society that exactly a society that is not well, tight knit together. I cannot now values. So when you put your character, your characteristics, and the values, someone will tell you he made the joke of us. Some people can identify as I cannot. Now that is his values. Then you will know Paul does not. Yeah, so he has his identity. That's why I'm saying, they work hand in hand. But I think that your personality helps shape your identity. Because otherwise, you cannot have an identity if you don't know what you are. That means for you, okay, apart from like drinks, I will drink anything. but that is now your identity. Because your characteristic or your values are, I don't drink anything. You get? Or I will not associate myself to something that is a bit of where there are gaps. Another person will say, no, as long as, So I feel like for me, why I insisted is that personality shapes who, like, if your identity in a way, yes. So they work hand in hand, in a way, like they intertwine. Because how will you know I'm Rowena?
Hey,
if you can't describe Rowena.
Josh and Zahara, I think, was saying something.
You were saying something. One thing that also identifies you as who you are, one is habits. You get habits. You get. They will know. Paul does this. He parks his car strictly there. He takes his nail. He'll smoke his cigarette. That kind of thing. So habits also are part of what identifies you. You understand? Me, I will know. If Roy doesn't have a camera, he's going to get stressed. You understand that kind of thing? So the habits, now those are the ones that build. And you see, like I said, it is fluid. We cannot say your identity and your personality are separate. You understand? They will keep on defining each other. But remember, it also comes with age. The older you grow, the more intellectual you become. You see, your identity also keeps on being redefined. But you already know yourself by your name. That is your original identity. You get? You know your name and you know what you're doing. So that is your first identity.
Yeah.
You get it?
I do depart from some of the views.
Please.
Yeah, with the reason.
I like how Joshua starts his submissions like a real lawyer.
With the reason, identity. When we talk about identity, we must appreciate the fact that everyone comes on earth with would they call it a manual, the modus operandi, like how they give you a remote and they insert a manual in it. So the personality and how you're going to change over time is the manipulation and separation of some things. Like how you say, I used to be this, but then later, due to some circumstances, you change. But that doesn't specifically mean that you cease to be the other person. The person in this menu, the initial person, you just suppressed that specific area in order to fit in, or due to public demand or anything of that sort. You understand? And when it comes to the separation is it should be very much connected to how the people's contribution. We're all different with a different manual. You might, just like we talked about the iPhone 17, you could look at it as a luxury someone else might not look at it as a luxury. They might look at it as a necessity. And yet, the other way around, you might have even bought a specific shoe that's even much cheaper than the phone they bought, and they'll see it as a luxury. Why is this one wasting money on this one? It's because of the specifications in their manual of their identity, what they think is right, what they think is okay, what they think is not okay. They are going to use it to nullify your decision over time. So that's why I base on to come up with such a view.
All right. Thank you for that. Anyone who would care to give a last submission? Mother Water. Everyone is running away from the last submission.
Okay, let's say who you are vis-a-vis personality. I can try to agree with most of the views. Let me start with Rona's view of you cannot identify someone without their personality. And this time around, I'm saying what we see. Okay, first leave what we hide. What we see. If someone told you that Godwin is quiet, Zahara would slap you. Zahara Ninja. Because most of the time, someone, actually, it's like asking Rowena, have you ever seen Godwin angry? It is a thing which, over time, okay, from childhood, I've never known how to be angry for a long time. I don't know how to. Somehow, I always find something to make me laugh. Yes. So, even when it goes for 2 days, one day I'm like, that is me. Because in my head I'm wondering, why are you keeping up this? So usually who you are is so much defined by what you put out there. Whether it is pretense or it is the natural you, for us we will identify you according to what we see.
Yeah.
Not what you think you tell us.
Yeah.
That is why it's like when people that notion of what Zahara was saying, whereby it is relative. Right now, even identity is relative. I identify as a woman. But brother, your anatomy is speaking different. So we don't know. You have a deep voice. Your pants are speaking bulging, not for. So you cannot tell us you're identifying us, because at the end of the day, you are now trying to bend our understanding of identity to yours.
Yeah.
So usually identity is so much of what we give out there.
Yeah.
And that is, as I told you, those are two sides of the coin. There's what we have naturally, then what we give out. So when someone asks you, who are you? Of course, I'll describe myself. Then I'll get to Zahara and she will have very differing views, because you'll be like, brother, you're telling us you're humble. I've never seen you humble. You're telling us you're quiet. I don't know. I think it's in your mind where you're quiet, but for us outside here, you're seeing a different thing. So usually when someone says who you are, I usually leave it as more of subjective to the outside parties more than yourself. Because outside parties usually give you so much of who you are more than yourself. Because sometimes you can assure us, okay, sometimes can also be deluded. Let me call it deluded. Yeah. So most of what we give out is what actually who we are.
Yeah.
Whether in the some things come out naturally, some things are bent over years, but it's usually most of what we give out. That's our identity.
All right. So Paul, in a minute had something to read for us. He's a very last speaker.
Okay, so we are in the age of AI. So this is the prompt that I've given. What is the difference between personality and identity, and how does it shape you as a person? I'm just going to read what has given us. Personality and identity overlap, but they aren't the same thing. You get? Personality is the collection of relatively stable traits and patterns you show across situations. How you tend to think, feel, and behave. It includes things like being outgoing or reserved, calm or easily stressed, methodical or spontaneous. Psychologists often describe it with models such as the Big Five: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, experience, and ongoing life events, but generally consistent over time.
Okay.
Identity is how you define and see yourself. It's the answer to who am I? And it includes roles, doctor, parent, friend, values, culture, beliefs, gender, religion, and life goals. Identity is more fluid than personality.
Okay.
It evolves as you gain experiences, shift priorities, or move through different stages of life. They shape you together. Your personality influences how you approach the world, whether you seek out new experiences, how you handle conflict, or how you relate to others. Your identity guides your choices, what you consider important, the communities you belong to, and the meaning you give to your actions. For example, two people can share a similar personality trait, like being introverted, but have very different identities. One might center their life around scientific research, another around spiritual practice. Likewise, someone's identity as a caregiver or a leader may push them to develop aspects of their personality, like patience or assertiveness,
Okay.
that weren't as strong before. Understanding both helps you grow. Knowing your personality highlights your natural tendencies, while exploring your identity lets you decide who you want to become.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Like knowing your personality and exploring your identity. And I think a lot of what we have been, it has actually opened my eyes a lot, because I think a lot of times we do tend to confuse identity and personality and try so much to develop our identities, forgetting about our personalities, or vice versa. So thank you for that. That's actually a very perfect way to close this out. So this is something definitely we are going to have to revisit. But for now, guys, Arsenal 1, Paul 1, let's... Paul, 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 Paul went. We win when we won. That is true. Paul, Paul won't let me rest. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. It has been a really, really beautiful conversation to start us off after a really nice break. I already have a topic in mind for next Sunday, but I'll put it in the group. Oh, by the way, Godwin, we have to add you to the group, because we now have a talk track group. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I wish you all a lovely rest of your week. Go out, let's embrace our personalities, grow our identities, and just be happy people. That being said, thank you so much, Maurice, for shooting and for your comments in the background. What Paul has said. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Peace out.